Hi there, it's Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy, here as your host for the Night Sky this week for October 24th, 2022. Thanks so much for joining me. It's great to see everybody on the comments chiming in, saying where they're watching from. You're joining me from all parts of the world, which is fantastic. I've got folks from Honduras, oh my God, from France, from the UK, from the different parts of the US. Just fantastic. I love seeing where all my friends are around the world. I do consider you all my friends, stargazing friends, and we share that passion, that curiosity about the cosmos, don't we? So it's just fantastic. So before I dive in, just a little note, stay tuned to the end of the broadcast because I've finally got a reveal for something special, my book. I just got a copy of it, so I'm so excited. I'm going to share that at the end. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So without further ado, let's dive in. Here, we're going to bring up our the planetarium program. And here we are. Boom. Let's go. And we're going to head into the sunset on Monday. This is what we're seeing here. You can see the two brightest star-like objects that greet your eyes soon after sunsets is going to be, I think there's no doubt, the two gas giant planets. They're kind of like the brightest dots in the sky as the sun sets and dusk sets in and then twilight. And it's really just a beautiful opportunity to see the largest planets in our solar system conveniently in our evening skies. So you can see right here, we've got Saturn in the constellation of Capricornus, the sea goat, and then we've got Jupiter in the constellation of Pisces, the fishes. And all of this action with these planets is happening basically centered around the southeastern sky. And they're really easy to see. They're high enough up in elevation, in altitude, that most of the world, actually, the population in the world, can see these two planets. And of course, if you have a telescope, Saturn reveals itself with its rings. I can show you a simulation of that. If we just zoom in like this, there you can see the rings. And it's just amazing to think that the width of the rings, I mean, the whole planet, including the rings, could fit between Earth and our moon, just wedged in between those two objects. So it's really, really cool that we can see that through a little backyard telescope. And you don't need a very fancy telescope to see this at all. The planet with the rings are very visible. And if you pump up the magnification on Saturn, what's really interesting, of course, you'll get to see like Titan, which is one of the brightest, largest moon of Saturn. And of course, Titan has been in the news for decades, thanks to that it's enshrouded with this smog-like atmosphere. Methane rains down from the methane clouds. There's like lakes and pools and rivers of methane. Very cold. And we think Titan is kind of like an analog to what Earth might have looked like before life evolved. There's a lot of like potential organic compounds on the surface of this frigid, smoggy worldlet that's Titan. And it's amazing. You can see this world as a pinpoint of light through a telescope near Saturn. So this is where Saturn and Titan would be in relation to each other tonight on Monday, October 24th. This is what you'd see. But what I wanted you to look at also is if we pump up the magnification on Saturn, you'll see this really neat dark kind of dividing line between the inner rings and the outer rings of Saturn. And this is called the Cassini division. The word Cassini, of course, was an Italian astronomer who this is named after. And what's interesting is that this dark rift is actually kind of like a gap that exists between the inner rings and the outer rings. And remember that the rings of Saturn are made of billions of icy particles, some as no bigger than a grain of sand, and others that are, as big as a house or even bigger than that, little moonlets. And in fact, there are a series of moonlets that we've discovered through the Cassini spacecraft mission. And before that, we had, of course, the Voyager missions in the 80s that flew by Saturn. And we've discovered that there are little moonlets that are kind of they're called shepherding moons, that basically gravitational pull and push and pull a lot of the material that makes up these rings of Saturn and creates these gaps. And there are other little gaps too that are much harder to see, but the Cassini division that goes around it is quite visible to a backyard telescope. So I definitely encourage you to look at. And you may be asking, what is Saturn's rings made of? Well, what's really cool is that Saturn, we think, did not have rings when it was born. These rings are basically the remnants of a long, ancient, old moon that existed a long time ago that was smashed by a wayward asteroid or a comet, perhaps. And the remnants, the bits and pieces, have gone into orbit around this gas giant. And so we are fortunate to live in an epoch where we see Saturn with these magnificent, iconic rings. So do check that out. Highly recommend it. That's Saturn with a telescope. It's really good. And then, of course, nearby you have Jupiter. And even with, let me see if I can show this, if it'll bring it up. Maybe if I have to get it a little bit darker, perhaps. Let me see it an hour later. Here, let's see if I can. Yes, there we go. It just needs to be a little bit darker. So I've got it right now about 8 p.m. local time. And look at that. You see these? These are the Galilean moons. I talk a lot about these because I want to make sure you get to see them. If you've never seen the moons of Jupiter, with binoculars, you can see them, but you have to hold your binoculars super steady to see them. With a telescope, no problem. On a tripod, you'll be able to see these. You see the disk of Jupiter, but you'll see the moons of Jupiter. Now, Jupiter has dozens of moons, but there's 4 that are easily seen with very low magnification. They're called the Galilean moons because, of course, Galileo first saw them. And they include Europa, Io, Callisto, and Ganymede way out here. And if you watch this group of moons, they change from day to day. So if I just go, let me see if I center Jupiter like that, I can go from day to day and see, look, this is where they'll appear on tomorrow, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, Thursday. See how they're switching? That's because they're orbiting Jupiter. So every night if you go out, you'll see them change positions. It's really, really cool. You get to see the celestial mechanics at play. Look at that. So I'm back to October 24th today, and that's where you'll see it. So every day of the week. So this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Look at that. You see how they're spread out? Europa and Ganymede. Oh, it's really amazing. So you get to see that every day play out the celestial mechanics as those moons kind of orbit Jupiter. Really, really cool. Now, of course, there's more things to see. Uranus is a much more difficult world. It's about 5.8 magnitude. So it's really at the limit of human unaided eye vision, but from a very dark sky. So realistically, I would say you need binoculars to find Uranus. But what's the telling point of this planet is that it's a little green dot, actually a green disk. Very few stars actually are green. I mean, it's very, very rare. And so when you see it, it's very obvious. Through binoculars, it's a tiny disk. Through a telescope, it's a little bit of a bigger tiny disk. But it's very evidently greenish blue, and you can see it. It's amazing because it's a planet that, that sits what is it now? 2.8 billion kilometers away. It takes light 155 minutes to reach your eye from Uranus. So what you'll notice is that, we're talking about all these planets, but there's no moon. And the moon, you'd have to wait. You can see here, if I just go hours ahead, there's Mars. You can see Mars coming up in the east. This is now around 11 o'clock at night. And you can see we keep going through the night. And you can see that the moon is nowhere to be seen. But if we go to sunrise and or I should say sunset, and we look towards the west, let me just set this up so it makes sense. Where are we here? There we are. Sunset. And we just go a little bit darker. What you'll see is Scorpius and its brightest star, Antares. Okay. Let me see. Are we good to go here? Yeah. Okay. There's Antares. I marked it. Now watch this. If we go forward in time, this is now, remember, this is now October 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. Okay, so this is October 27th, Thursday. Look at that. Do you see that sliver of the moon? That will be a beautiful, great observing challenge to try out with Antares and the moon side by side. It's a really nice a nice view. And of course, what's really cool, if it gets darker and we imagine what Scorpius, the giant arachnoid, looks like, and you can kind of make out here, this is the artistic view, and you see that the moon is wedged in between the claws of the scorpion. And right next door is Antares, that orange giant star. And what's neat about Antares is that Antares, as the name implies, it means anti-Mars, as the ancient Greeks knew them. Antares, because the word Ares, A-R-E-S, was their name for Mars, the planet Mars, and this is anti-Mars. Mars, of course, as I said before, itself will be rising on the opposite side of the sky later at night. When it gets dark, you'll see it in the east. There it is, right there, rising. And it'll be in between the two horns of Taurus, the bull. So really, really cool stuff between these two. Now, of course, next Monday is Halloween, celebrated by some in North America. Here in Canada, it's a big holiday for kids. And there's a lot of things in the sky that are kind of really great to think about in terms of mythology, connecting this ancient mythology of the skies with monsters and goblins and ghouls that are running around on the trick-or-treating on the ground here. There's some really cool monsters, mythical ones in the night sky if you know where to look. So next week, I'm going to be talking about more about the Halloween stuff on the show for Monday, because Monday is October 31st, which is Halloween. So I'll share some really cool little things, events, and objects in the sky that you can see on Halloween night if it's clear, or the week of Halloween. That's really cool to look at, and there's really neat mythology attached to it, and not just constellations, but stars themselves, meteor showers, and other really cool stuff. So stay tuned for that. So that's this for this week. I'll have some sky charts as well available. But before I go, I just want to mention I'm so excited because I just got delivered my copy of my new book that I'm a lead author on. It's called Stargazer's Atlas. As you can see, it's a big book. I've mentioned this in my last one. It's big. It's about an inch and a half, 10 and a half inches by 14 inches, and it weighs about 6 pounds. And this is like an amazing endeavor. Like, it took over almost 2 years of work. I was really fortunate to work with a great team of folks at National Geographic, including some co-authors who chimed in on some amazing topics as well, like archaeoastronomy, astrotourism is included. But of course, the heart of the book is it is an atlas, and it is an amazing atlas that's filled with not just scientific stuff, but also maps of the sky are included. There are every single constellation that's in the sky is worked up on here from both southern and northern hemispheres. So you guys in the south are not left out with this book. Every constellation is worked up. I've included a lot of really good, neat deep sky objects, some that generally not included in a lot of atlases. You'll find them hard to find. Mythology behind constellations and objects, and lots of trivia, tips, and tricks about touring the night sky. Everything like that is included. It's a really amazing book. It sells for 65 US and 83 Canadian at like Amazon and other bookstores and around the world, really. But I'll be also selling copies of these myself that I will sign and dedicate. And I should have that up in the next few days, so stay tuned. It will officially go on sale tomorrow, so I'm hoping I'll have it available and revealed tomorrow. So for a slightly little bit more extra, you can get a signed copy from me, and I'll make it a little bit of a deal too. I'll throw some other little neat little things in there as well if you order it from me. I have a pre-order list on my website. Just go to thenightskyguide.com. Let me see if I have that. You can see that here. If I can just have that here. There's my website. This is my website. And if you go right here, it says more about my atlas. You click on that link. Let's see if it works. Yes, there's my book releasing tomorrow. And then if you scroll down, you can get onto the pre-order list. Just fill this out. No commitments are out. Just if you're interested in getting more information, make sure that you get a link to the book when it goes on sale, and then you can make a choice if you're interested in purchasing it. I know it's a big book. Shipping will be something, but if you're interested, it would make a neat I think a neat holiday gift, perhaps, to anyone who's interested in space and astronomy in general. It would be something fun, probably. So I'm so excited. Finally, it's out. And I want to thank everyone at National Geographic and my fellow team there helping out in writing some of those chapters and just coming together and bringing all this stuff, everything that I think people who are interested in the cosmos will really appreciate in this book. We cover literally everything from A to Z in the universe in this book. And of course, at the heart is this massive atlas, maps of the sky, and lots of deep sky treasures and planets, and the moon, maps of all the moons and individual planets of the solar system are included. So it's a National Geographic book, so it's going to be a great book. You'll really enjoy it. So Anyways, that's on my website, thenightskyguy.com. Check that out. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or Twitch. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions about the night sky, feel free to write me. My address is at the night sky. It's Andrew at thenightskyguide.com. And I hope to see you all on my next broadcast at the end of this week, where, of course, I'll talk about my Friday find, things that are in space news that really captures my eye that I want to share with all of you. So stay tuned for that on Friday. Other than that, every Monday is my night sky this week. So come on by. I love to see you. Until next week, I'm Andrew Fazekas, wishing you clear skies. Bye-bye.